Good evening. Elevate your profits. Tom Ginn here. I'm really excited today for our guest. But before we get in, I'm going to bring in my partner here, Mark Gasser. Come on in, bud.
Hey, what's up? What's up, everybody? All you EYP freaks out there. This should be a fun one tonight. Coaching, yes. Always like talking about that subject since I had to deal with a bunch of coaches yesterday from the other end of the spectrum as I stood behind a 17 by 17 by 17 piece of rubber called home plate. And so that was an exciting time yesterday, 5 games. So here I am now, and I'm going to deal with another type of coaching, which I'm looking forward to, Tom.
I as well. I like to say this, Mark. Our whole premise of Elevate Your Profit is everything from the mindset to the bank account. And so our guests come in and they share their stories, that they bring their wisdom, their knowledge, and what they've done. Going into business, this is for those that may be aspiring to go into business or solopreneurs or have an existing business. So we bring a lot of different guests in to bring new awareness of how to win in business. But tonight is really, I think, really appropriate because I think it all starts with the mindset, the thinking process. And I'm also a certified coach with the Proctor Gallagher Institute. So, it's going to be a good conversation. I'm going to learn from Troy and, Mark. We're going to be, asking him questions, and we just want to have our audience participate, ask any questions they have, and we're ready to go. Are you, Mark?
Oh, absolutely. I'm just sharing this out as we're talking here. So please forgive me if I look down, everybody. It's not that I'm bored, but I'm just trying to get the word out here to the masses because, you that want to master the mindset, I think tonight is appropriate to the nth degree. You need to be here and take a look.
Guess who's on? AB Gabor. How you doing, AB? Thanks for jumping on. I'll be in touch with you later this week. I'm just sort of recouping coming back from Tennessee, but thanks for jumping on this evening. So, Troy, I know under contract, I got you the M&Ms, all blue. So I'd like to get that swallowed down, drink a cup of water, and we're ready to go. Come on in, Troy.
Hey, welcome. How you guys doing?
Hey, good to see you there, my man.
Good to see you.
Yeah. How were things behind the curtain there?
It was exciting because I was getting pumped up listening to you guys talk about about coaching.
Oh yes, absolutely. I love talking about coaching. I know you guys are both Bob Proctor. I have a cohort in crime at what I do every day. He is a John Maxwell certified trainer as well. So I think when you get into this subject, and you guys are the masters, and I'm going to get out of the way, it's always interesting when you use that word coach. What does that really mean? And how do you become a good one, and how do you differentiate yourself out there in the marketplace? I've often have been intrigued with that, how that works.
Well, Troy, we just want to kick it off tonight. Just give a little bit of background, where you're from, a little bit about your family, your professional career, and then we'll just go from there. So it's all yours, my friend.
No, I appreciate it, guys. I go by the name Coach Troy. I've been doing this for now about 9 years professionally. I realized I was actually coaching since I was 14, 15 years old, and I started to realize that you can actually turn it into a profession, and so I'm honored to be here today to be able to help you guys give some inspiration to people. I live by 3 words: learn, execute, and inspire. And so I've got to learn from a lot of great people around the world, and through many different mentorship programs, and now being able to execute a lot of the strategies that I've learned, and through also in my family, and be able to now today inspire people as well. So I'm from Calgary, Alberta, and so I'm a Canadian, and we share a lot in common. I know you're waiting for the A, and I'll do one here later for you, but
That
So
means Robert Brooker will be here shortly. Another
yeah,
Canadian. Look out.
it's like a frequency you give off. Reconnect when we say A, and then they start coming out of the woodwork and connecting with each other. So it's our calling. So no, as Tom said too, I'm a Procter Gallagher consultant, and
Right.
I've really enjoyed that process because the as I go back into where I was to start out with, I had started out in coaching through Tony Robbins, and Tony had helped me through a lot of training because I was clearly needing some help to really be able to grow my career and grow what I was doing, and I'd mastered a lot of things in sales and marketing and leadership that I was doing, but I really needed to take my life and my business to a new level. Why? Because I decided on when I was 34 years old that I needed to create and live chapter two of my life. I could tell where I was up to that point. I was, I hate to use the word faking it, but I was doing a damn good job of playing the game of showing people a life that wasn't maybe true to me. And I was consumed with negativity, anxiety, alcoholism, surrounding myself with a lot of people that just weren't there to support me. My diet, if you will, my food intake was crappy. My health, my wealth, all of those things were still at a level that I didn't really want to be. And so when I was able to, really make that decision, I showed up with the attitude that I needed to change, and I decided that day on December 1st that it was time to do that, and I was going to start that new chapter. And so, developing myself was, an absolute must. There wasn't I want to, there wasn't I should or could. This is how it's going to be. And so I really started to define my goals and really realized, what were my true goals? What were the things that I really wanted to do in life and things that took a turn? Because there was a lot of things from when I was a younger guy, that had to take changes because you get into, you start a family, you get into a relationship, you have jobs that, take over. But I realized that there was a purpose for me that wanted to be there. And so I had to decide what was it that was keeping me from getting that goal, and what was going to get me to the next level. And so really deciding that everything after that day was going to be part of my chapter two. I honored everything I did in chapter one. I had a lot of fun with it. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't terrible and depressing, but it was becoming toxic. And you could just tell where it was going because I started becoming inspired by a lot of great people. And you could see, as Tony would say, success leaves clues. And as you start following a lot of successful people, you start realizing that some of the things that you're doing don't really correlate anymore with what you really want to be doing. And so for myself, I started. I'd hired my first coach. I'd really became involved with Tony and people in his group and people like Brendan Burchard and oh my gosh, I could go on for hours about all the mentors. But Napoleon Hill and Jim Rohn and all these guys, have just played such an impactful piece in my life. But when I really started to apply it and understand how I could change it, that's when I became inspired to really do the same thing. And then along that journey, I'd already, heard and met Bob Proctor and being able to understand it. But when I really started to understand that he was in a similar situation as me, he had done really successful things, but he sat in the bar, did, a lot of things that he knew really wasn't him. And I started to realize, his mom put him through trade school or tried to, and so did my mom. And we started doing all these things, and he started to realize that, I really resonate with this guy. But the part that was so cool about Bob was this: Bob had a program, Thinking of the Results, that completely had one piece in it, and that was the word paradigm. And I understood what was keeping me from really going to the next level. And when I figured that part out and I seen how it worked in my own life, I decided then a couple years later, I got to call this guy back and I need to join up. I need to partner with this man because there's a lot of great people, such as Tom himself here. There's a lot of great people that are working with Bob, and so that's where I am today. Is I've been able to put a lot of different information together, and I've had a lot of fun with it. And to answer your question, if I may, Mark, is you asked how do you differentiate yourself. The thing that I know I'm really good at is I have lived the chapter one and the chapter two. I'm able to bring a lot of that life experience through. I've won numerous awards and different things in my careers, but being able to tile that together, put that into my coaching career, I feel very confident that when I get the opportunity to work with a client, that I'm coming from a place of honesty and integrity, and so that's the part that I get to show up here today as well. So
That's great. That's great. The reason I mention about coaching, and I look at it from the total gamut of sports, entertainment, the political infrastructure, everybody has a coach, a professional, as they say, always seeks the coach. Even Brady has a coach. Muhammad Ali had a coach. We could go through all this, but what really fascinated me, and if you ever studied him, and I have a lot, is Bill Walsh. That guy
Mm-hmm.
always felt like he was never good enough and a failure. Not that he was, but the way he internalized things. We talk about the West Coast offense, which he learned. Excuse me, everybody, I'm digressing, but from Paul Brown back in the day, and he took it to the next level. Uh, but just such an innovator within the football game, which you see today with all these different formations. He was leaps and bounds ahead of his craft, but he never felt he was good enough or measured up. But he did. He put a lot of pressure on himself, and that's a very high pressure profession, as you know, being a coach in a professional sporting. I mean, they expect every year you're here, and it's interesting when you look at someone that's very driven and is enthralled with success, how they approach it. And can you shed some light on what you see, like from average to someone that's really taking care of business as opposed to somebody that's like, hey, this coaching thing's a waste of my time? I'm sure you've seen varying forms of this as a coach.
Oh, 100%. I think that,
Right.
I think in one way you could actually call yourself like the aircraft controller unit. You first of all have to have the coordinates of where that plane's going, and you're going to be constantly making adjustments, whether it's altitude or turns or
Mhm.
what have you, speed, all of that. And if the person doesn't have an outcome of what they want, it's really hard to coach them, because you have to first get them to believe in themselves and be able to actually picture in their mind where it is they want to go. That airplane already has a picture in its mind where it's going to go. And when you can see that it's going off course, or your client is going off course, you can help them get back aligned. And if they're feeling down, or the emotional, the mental side of it isn't there, you can help figure out what triggered that. And I think it's really easy for a coach to be able to say, well, I've done all this, and I can make it happen. I know exactly how to get this strategy. But if you also need to know, okay, what are the blockages that are going to come up, right? Or what are the things that are going to interrupt that pattern? If you can't find that in that client of yours or the person you're working with, it's going to be really hard, because you can only tell somebody so many times. And that's the difference between that knowing and doing gap, as Bob calls it. Like, they know what to do. It's just doing it. What is it? Is it their story? Is it their fear? Right? Is it, they can't
Right.
picture it, and they can't celebrate themselves. But at the end of the day, it's 100%. You need to be able to have a goal. And if you have no goal of where you're going, it's hard to be coached.
Yeah. Troy, can I interject something here? When you were talking
Yeah,
in the beginning, you
100%.
weren't you recognized where you were at, and you've had success, and we've all had ups and downs, and we all have imperfections, right? We have things in our closets, or things that are not conducive to the best of in our lives, and we all go through them, and that type of thing.
Oh yeah.
But you said something, and I think it's something that I instill people. To be coached or be coachable, you have to be fed up. You have to at some point recognize you're no longer satisfied, whatever it is, and you have to make a decision for change.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
an emotional thing. So you mentioned that you decided, and I think whoever's out there today, no matter where you are, and you want to get better, whether it be in relationships or business or whatever, you have to just make a decision that you want something different, something different. And so I just wanted to expound on that a little bit with you. And you mentioned paradigms. A lot of people have the wrong, when we're talking about personal development, paradigms has many different definitions, but in the personal development, could you expound a little bit about what Bob means about the paradigms? If you want to expound on that, so people really understand what a paradigm is and how we operate on that.
For sure. So a paradigm is a multitude of beliefs and habits that really, controls you. So it's really the programming. If you go back to my airplane controller theory, it's really the programming that's in that controller, right? When this happens, this is how you react. If something happens to your sensories or things that are happening, if you don't change them, or at least develop a new habit, you're always going to get the exact same result. I know most people on here are going to be like, well, that's called insanity, but you can call it whatever you want. It's just that if you've always been told that, to react a certain way or feel a certain way or have an opinion this way, if you don't look at it maybe with maybe a reverse polarity, as we'd all call it, how could you look at it? Maybe it's not always happening to you. That's what I always tell my clients. What is it actually happening to you, this situation, or is it happening for you? Because there can be multiple ways of looking at that, and I think that when you can change that belief system or that habit, that the way you react, that's what I say, Tom, is the whole thing. And you see people that constantly won't change how they do go through their day, or how they partake in a conversation, or what they keep allowing to come into them. I call it your diet, but I know Bob talks about it as your subconscious or your conscious mind. What you hear, what you taste, what you touch, you smell, all of these sensories that are happening around you. And if you don't change the way that you react to that, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
Or you're just not going to get the result that you want. I mean, at the end of the day, it's if you want to be 190 pounds and you're still 250 on the scale, obviously your result isn't what you wanted, right? So.
And that's something, as you're saying about paradigms, it's your belief systems and how we're programmed, how we view the world. Mark grew up in a certain environment. He's been influenced by that. I grew up in a certain environment. A lot of my behavior has been influenced. We all have. And this is probably one of the hardest things in true personal development, is putting the mirror up and looking at yourself and be willing to explore yourself. And a coach isn't going to put you down for it. It's just going to help you see your genius and help you identify those things that are the paradigms, the belief systems getting in the way. So, Mark asked, there's coaching, there's mentoring, there's facilitating, and each one of them has, in consulting there. So what I know what Bob does, and tell me if you say this, we do it all in his program. We're coaches, right? We help put discipline in place, hold people accountable. That's a coach. We're mentors. We're using our experience, like you said, right? And using that as maybe a roadmap to look at. But I think what Bob does better than anything else is we're facilitators to help you go through that process. But we're not consultants. That's the difference. Would you agree?
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. Because I think everybody does know what they're. If you got to be careful. Sorry, you're exactly right. Because I think a consultant really starts to go through, like I do consulting as well, but not through Bob's thing. But a consultant has to be very careful. Because a consultant is typically doing all the work, right? Or telling you exactly how to do it. Everybody on this call that's listening or watching has it in their mind already, exactly all the answers. The coach just needs to help you bring it out and figure out what is the possibility. Like Bob says, the internet's always been around, or the light bulb, or the airplane, or all of those things. And we had to develop those things through people and be able to grab that magic and help them. So when a client comes to you and says, hey, I want this type of outcome, I don't know if I can completely see it. Well, we can start to figure out maybe why in their history, that paradigm, where that's coming from, but be able to start to create that imagination of exactly where you can go. And I think what's really important for me is, when you get to show up, as Tom said, with your best self, and you get to look in the mirror and you can love yourself no matter who you are or what it is, that starts to develop, and you can then start appreciating you so much. You can affirm to yourself that you do matter, that you do have a place. When you show up with that type of vibration and frequency, that's what's going to be attractive to your family. There's nothing better for your spouse, your kids, to feel like, hey, dad's a rock star in his own mind. And yeah, he might be a little dorky or whatever, but you know what? It's so awesome that he loves himself. And that love then comes in, makes them feel good. And that's typically what starts to happen in a marriage, right? Is you start to feel crappy about your own self and things start to happen, and then, you know, people, you know, dissolve. But if you really want to be great and you want to be a great leader, show up for yourself in the best up version of yourself that you can be inspirational and impactful for your family. And then when you leave home with all of that excitement and that frequency, and you're able to go to your job or go lead your team or go play a sport or do whatever, that frequency is then going to attract that many more people to want to be around you that are going to be in that same vibration. The people that aren't on that same frequency are typically going to start to fade away. They're going to be a little jealous at first. They're going to give you lots of criticism, but we teach that, right? How do you deal with that part? Because you're going to get that remorse from people and criticism. And when you can then be able to push through all of that, now all of a sudden you start to develop a complete community around you that's going to be fulfilling and inspirational and really on a page that feels really good to you.
Yeah. And I'm going to just ask a question. You know, Bob, and you recognize this book, right? You can see mine's pretty well used, right, with my clients and that. And I look at this frequently. Sometimes it's daily, but I look at it very frequently with my clients. So I'm always being re-energized with it, because we can fall back to our old paradigms in a just like that. They're strong. You know, Bob talks a lot of. Bob is a tremendous human potential coach, abundance coach, and he talks a lot about goals. And I sat with Bob one time, and he talked about my goals, and he told me your goals aren't going to work. He says, because your vision and your belief isn't strong enough. And through his coaching and mentoring, sitting in his home. So what's your thought where a person should start? We all have goals. We all have wants. But how do you differentiate a goal and a vision? What would you say from your perspective?
I think it starts with a vision, Tom, or a fantasy, if you will. You know, and when you really think, you know, what is something completely crazy, awesome? You know, like, do I want a 36 passenger jet? Not a lot of people are thinking about that. But if you thought, you know, hey, that would be kind of cool if I could have Coach Troy written on the side, and you start really envisioning this stuff, and I start to put that from a fantasy. But when I really start to really love the feeling of it, and I can smell the leather of the seats, and I can feel the thrust of the engine, right? Or maybe it's just a car, maybe it's just going, you know, whatever, having a certain home. But when you start to program, you know, when I can smell the wood of that house, or, you know, I can hear the leaves rustling, or all of those things, then I turn it into a goal. Because now I can completely picture my butt sitting on that plane, right? And I can feel it. It's all there. And then it becomes a goal. But then I put a date down beside that goal. But that goal, usually when I know it's a really cool goal, when it's a C-type goal, as Bob would call it, is then when I feel my hair in my back tickle a little bit. Because now all of a sudden it's like, okay, crap, I got to get this plane. I got to figure this out. You know, we did that with the last home we bought. You know, my wife had that same thing where we had this fantasy of living on the side of the Rocky Mountains in a big A-frame home and everything else. And she had it on her vision board. But when we really turned it from a fantasy then into a goal, well, then 2 years later, we moved into it. You know, and so that's when it starts to happen. Is it's not so much just about manifesting or the universe, like some people don't like The Secret or what have you. It's just that when you focus on it and when you can completely envision yourself living it, it becomes a goal. An A-type goal is just a normal thing. It's like, you know, hey, I got to take the laundry out of the washing machine. You know, it's really common, right? A B-type goal is, you know, hey, we want to go out to that fancy restaurant next week or what have you. But and you know, we don't have enough money right now, but if we save enough, we'll get there. But that C-type goal, that comes to me from a fantasy, from a vision that you can see as an absolute possibility, because you've really obsessed over it. And you can, and come hell or high water, you're going to get it. That's how I look at it, Tom. Maybe it's a long answer, but
great job. You know, you and I, we could talk all day long. You know, maybe we should get together and do a workshop together. But you know, so everybody wants something in life. But you know, like in Napoleon Hill talks about, it's the fuel, it's desire. That's emotional. Everything that the outcomes we get are tied with an emotion, either positive or negative, right? And so, yeah, thanks for sharing. You mentioned something, living this in your life. As we become better, those around us become better. I love what you're doing with your family. Yeah. Share a little bit about your wife, what she's doing, and how what you've learned and how that's influenced her and made her better. Your two beautiful children, at which I've had the honor to interview Luke, an incredible young man. I'm looking forward to maybe interviewing your other son as well. But just share a little bit about when you got into the personal development. Was there resistance from that, or did they embrace it and that type of story?
Yeah, you know what? Great question. I haven't actually been able to give this answer before. So Robbie is my wife, and so I remember the first time I went to Tony Robbins at UPW, and she asked the funniest question, but yet it was the smartest question, because it made me understand how what I know does work. She said, "Well, what if you come back all changed and you're not happy with us anymore?" Right? And when you actually start to ask a lot of people that do start coaching and whatnot, there is that resistance in the background. And now I'm able to address this because, you know what, I'm not going to change you. I'm just going to get you back on track to where you want to go. Because at some point you were a lot more attractive when you first started dating this person or what have you. And now you're off track. That's why you're coming to me. But so, but if we fast forward, Robbie's always been my right hand all the way through. And so, she's followed a lot of Tony's stuff. She's been around for all of it. And the cool part is talk about pushing. She's an introvert, but pushing herself to the next level. She became a second degree black belt in Taekwondo. And actually her and Luke and Everett, when they were in Taekwondo, they're not anymore right now just because of the COVID and whatnot and removed. But when they were doing that, they were able to start actually teaching a lot of coaching material to a lot of the people that they were instructing, because my wife's also a Taekwondo instructor. And so totally out of her comfort zone by a long shot. And so she was, I was really proud of her because she was able to take a lot of things that I'm going through in the hundreds and thousands of hours of videos that they hear me practicing on, and being able to be able to push that out into the other kids it makes me really proud. The Luke, as Tom was mentioning, though, is Luke is 12 years old right now. Everett's 9. We have 2 sons. And Luke's got his black belt in Taekwondo at age 10. But Luke's a kidpreneur from 9 years old and on, and he's been doing product reviews on tech gear, camping products. And he actually works for one of my mentors' daughters now, Chet Holmes International. And so he does social media work and videography and social media and all kinds of things. And so does phenomenal work with a camera. He's a best friend for sure. And same with my youngest son, Everett, 9 years old. He's started his own YouTube channel now, and he's more focused on Minecraft, but he likes Minecraft not just because of video games. He loves creating and designing buildings. And so he works with architectural type programs too, but Minecraft gives him the fun side of it where he can put that together just like Lego. And we take him to an IKEA, and I'll never forget, he went to IKEA first time, and 2 days later, he built his own IKEA right on Minecraft with all the walkways. And so, I can probably say today that, yes, we are a product of product, and we live what we teach. And, I guess to add to that too, both kids are homeschooled for the last, this is their second year now, but they take Tony's courses, and we put them through UPW virtually as part of homeschooling, and they're on their second go around of thinking of the results of Bob Proctor right now as well too, as part of their homeschooling. So I coach them through, and they have to fill out their paperwork the same as if I was putting you two through as well right now. So it's that book you have in your hand, Tom, that's what the kids are doing right now.
I'll just share this with you. Kidpreneur are amazing. Yeah, AB, he's yeah. So
Luke, he's a trip, man.
I just want to share this. A real good friend of mine, Dr. John Kane, here in my community, is a former superintendent of schools. And you being a parent, and I think it sort of ties in what you're doing, you've taken on, you recognize that you needed to you made a decision for change. To as you change, you think people around you become better, so on and so forth. And I remember with Dr. John Kane when I introduced him to these disciplines, and he says, remember this with children. They don't do what you say; they do what they see. And so, in that goes with anybody, whether you're in an organization, and all those things is your walk is what they're going to replicate in life. And so, you demonstrating in that, they say, this is what I want to do too. And so I just wanted to share that with you from a real dear friend and a good sage of mine, that gave me that insight and wisdom when I was being trained with Bob. He says, children, and we're all children. We still operate as if we're 7 years or younger. It's not what you don't do what you say. People do what they see. And I think it's a key element in coaching. Would you agree? You're demonstrating the work.
Totally. And I appreciate you saying that, because that actually means a lot. Because when you do think about it, on the days where you don't know where, if you're doing good or not, you do look at the kids and the people who are watching you and realize, how are they turning out? Because it's a total reflection of how they see you having fun or not. I think that's $1 million question, Tom and Mark, that now that you guys say this is, if somebody was listening right now and they said, well, you know what, I don't know what my passion is or was or whatever, but take a listen to your own inner voice for a minute. And, when you were 12 years old or 10, what was that little dream you had right before your parents said no, or someone said, no, that's a dumb idea, or that's stupid, or you can't, or you shouldn't, or you won't, or we're not good enough? What was that dream? Was it something in the sandbox? Was it, was it a sport? Was it, did you want to own a big, massive piece of real estate? What was it? Because if you start to look back before you started to develop all these paradigms and the way that things are, being affected on you to tell you what you couldn't do, you had to start shaping yourself just to go alongside whoever it was that told you not to. And no offense, for most of us, it was your parents, right? And it was their parents, and it was just how we all played out. But if I asked you, to really think about, what it is that started to block you, if you just remove the block for a minute and go back to that, could you go back to that life, live some of those dreams, and be a part of that? And that's really, for me, I can just tell you, I didn't want to be around alcohol. I didn't want my kids to be around it. I had fun because I'd watched so many other people have fun around alcohol. So what did I do? I became a pro at it. I was a professional partier. I mean, I had a great time. But the thing was, I started to realize I didn't want my kids to be in that lifestyle. I didn't want my kids to only make 20 grand a year. I didn't want my kids to have to worry about, where you're going to get money for Christmas gifts. So, all these different things that, you start to develop of what I didn't want. And so I just made sure that everything come hell or high water, I showed the kids, here's how you knock it out of the park with sales. And in 2017, I had Luke was with me for so many sales calls when working for John Deere that it was crazy. He'd ride on combines when he's 2 years old, and he sat there for a $14 million deal, listening to the entire thing. And to me, it's those experiences showing that no matter what, you can do that. And I think, anybody who's listening because the result, as Tom just pointed out, is in your kids. Because if your kids are bored, not figuring out what to do, obviously you don't know what you're doing either. So maybe you need to get recalibrated and get them to be a part of it. You see, with Luke and Everett and my wife, they know every coaching call I'm going to have tonight. They know every interview I'm going to do. They know exactly everything that I've learned and train and teach, because we all do it. And that's what makes it fun.
You mentioned something, Mark. You mind if I ask another question or interject?
You go right ahead. You guys are kindred spirits here.
You hear this all the time when you guys, I don't know what I want, that type of thing. In most people's lives, there's so much chatter. They're chasing. They don't understand the importance of be still, because that's where the answers come. And helping people identify, this is something I've learned and through Bob and some other mentors as well. Many times we don't know what we want, but that there's an innate being still you'll start seeing the answers. Write everything. I always tell people, write everything down. Don't try to evaluate it. Too big, too small. I'm not good enough. All the chatter that goes on that we've been conditioned to believe about whatever it is. And just write it down. And then you'll start seeing your purpose start lining up. There is a thread. You're going to have things about what you want in relationships. You're going to start seeing things what you want in business. But you'll start seeing what I call the thread of life, your purpose. And when that shows up, boom, that's where you make that jump. And I always tell people, write everything down and then eliminate things you don't want.
Yes.
Eliminate the things you don't want. That could be relationships, friends, circles, the alcohol. You don't want it. You have to make some hard decisions. I was into drugs at one time and I had a real big problem with it, but I made that decision. And so you have to know what you don't want in that vision to get it. But those, that's my perspective of jumping. Any comments there? Here you're from another coach.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that, when I really learned how to identify that goal, I felt that as I was journaling or looking back and reflecting, that people said, Troy, you have an interesting way of helping people find what they want. It's something that I definitely, I feel is a gift. As I talk to people and help them figure things out, I help break down those factors and help really, uncover their story. I love doing that. I love reading people. I love understanding their body language. I love just tapping into that, into your subconscious mind. But I think that a lot of people are constantly trying to figure out their goals based on what other people are going to give them for acceptance. And I'm saying, who cares what your spouse says today for this exercise? Who cares what your kids say, or your boss, or anybody else for that matter? All of your critics aside, go have a good laugh and really write down all the dorky things that you wish you could try for, just do. What are things that really do give you a zip? It's hard to do this, and try to explain it. But I think when people really feel that, take away all of the objections and have that story that, I'm just going to have fun with this. And maybe you want to be a professional mountain biker. I don't know, but it when you start to develop, like Tom said, you start to develop a trend, you can start putting things together, and it takes time to rebuild your journey. When I talk about, creating a brand new chapter in your life, I'm not talking about this as in 1 minute. I'm talking about going through like a lot of steps: your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual life, right? Your purpose, your job. There's a lot of pieces to it, and you've had 20, 40, 50, 60 years of programming yourself. We can't do that in a coaching session. But if you go through a program like what Tom and I work with, like Thinking into Results, or you work with somebody who can help you just talk it through and uncover some of these things that have created the habits and beliefs that you have, you can really start to shape it. And then you can start to reflect on all day long is, what's my focus today? What's my language internally and externally? What's my physiology? How am I showing up? And does any of this align with my goal? And if it doesn't, we need to start a not to-do list, Tom.
Yeah.
Right? And really start to figure out, I spent all day doing everything that I know I hated, and I got the exact same result. That's really interesting. So we can start to replace some of those things with things that are going to fill it up, make you feel fulfilled, and show you not to be scared of it. That's how I see it.
That goes online, and I've been teaching on my G-Force, which I do Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, the science of getting rich. And today I was doing lesson number 12, effective action. And you have to be aware of what you're doing. Is what you're doing effective in the relationship to the outcome you seek? And if it isn't, you just focus on one and not try to do you can't multitask. Would you agree? You can only do one thing effectively.
Women can recant.
What's that?
Women can recant.
Well, yeah, that's they take care of the nest. Just give us a spear. We'll go out and bring the meat home, and then we'll take care of the rest, right?
Exactly.
Thanks, Robert. Robert always makes some deep thoughts here. So
Cool. Thank you, Robert.
yeah. And that he mentioned something there in that sentence, and I believe this is a building block of change. This is one of the things I interject in my coaching is the power of gratitude. Go ahead.
It's the most powerful. It's the most powerful medicine you can have.
Yeah.
If you can really have gratitude, no matter what, and just allow things to happen. Stop giving it ridicule. Have gratitude that it even happened, that you're alive, and have gratitude that people do have a difference of opinion, right?
Yeah.
Have gratitude for the opportunity you have rather than always everything happening to you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that anybody who, just back to the topic, if I was to be able to say it all really well is, and you can really figure out a couple small little goals to start off with. And like, as my son would say, just start. And I know that's easier said than done sometimes, but you know what, when you do take just them little tiny baby steps and you start to work at it, and you work with a coach, or you work with people, you start to surround yourself with people that want to see you have that goal. Share that goal with other people. Make sure that your whole family knows your goal. Make sure you know that your key friends know your goal. And don't go and ask people to share your goal with people that are going to criticize you just to test it, because that's usually what turns it off. Take that goal and keep surrounding yourself with people who want to help you get there, and remove those people who are going to criticize you, because it'll just create so much doubt and fear in your life. And take it from me, I fired almost every single person around me that was a critic naturally, because they're not of interest to me. I don't give them any energy at all. Give energy to yourself and your goal, and just go for it.
Yeah. And, that's what a lot of people don't realize. Everything operates by law in this universe. Our thinking operates by law. And that's why people are frustrated. They're stuck. They don't realize that the vibrational state we are our feelings. We just put it, I'm angry, or I'm happy, I'm joyous, I'm in love, or whatever. Those are all vibrational levels. And something gets out of alignment. That's why we feel stuck or frustrated, or we don't have clarity. But I think having a coach and bringing some awareness and helping people understand, setting things in an alignment with that, things become easy, not easier, easeful. Would you agree?
Yes, totally. Be careful of what is affecting your senses, Tom. If you were to take out a piece of paper today and you said, my result was I was in a really, I was in a dark mood. Well, figure out, what was it? Maybe you ate. Maybe you ate some low frequency food. Maybe you were listening to a really crappy song and you weren't dancing to good music. Mark loves dancing. You don't want to dance to something depressing, right? You want to dance to something that aligns with your frequency, your vibration. Yeah. And you want to make sure that, what you're watching or seeing is something that's going to add value. What you touch, right? And all those things, all these things have a play into it. And when you start to really realize it's not hard to figure out why you keep getting the results that you don't want. It's usually because of all the things coming in at you. And as you do that enough times, it actually starts to program your mind into your subconscious, and it starts to become a thing. And you become permanently stressed or depressed or sick, And it's not all about just thinking positive. It's about really understanding what it is that's going to get your goal, and surround yourself with people who can really make sure you're aligned. And if that's a coach, great. That's what you need. If it's a program, great. I mean, thinking of the results can either be 12 or 24 weeks. And I love 24 weeks. Why? Because in 24 weeks, that's half a year that you get to literally play full out and program yourself. It took me 43 years to screw up as far as I did. But, or I guess 34, because when I started my new chapter, but I was able to take the next, now 9 years and be able to really calibrate myself onto a program that I want to be with. And I think that's, you got to really give yourself that much credit. You're worth investing into. And, I have not yet ever coached somebody who hasn't had a breakthrough, because when you get to show them how fun it feels to really start a new chapter, or be able to, you know, start a new paradigm. I mean, there's nothing more fulfilling in life. Like, I can't tell you how great I feel.
Yeah.
And I
So
get to
so
see it in
much.
my whole family, all my friends, and my results, my health, my bank account, my relationships, everything's just I can't be more happier.
You know, you in our Grow Live Academy. You have you had any conversation with Glenn Morshower?
I haven't just listened to him. Very
Okay.
interesting man.
Yeah, he's a sage. Yeah,
Yeah.
he brings a different perspective. And he brings a different view on what Bob teaches. Bob didn't create any of this. He's just taken the sages and the wise men of
Yeah.
the past and just put it in a way you can maybe understand it. This most complicated thing we have is the human mind, and he's made it simple to understand. How do we really think? How do we rechange that? But I love what Glenn Morshaw. I use this metaphor is in where you're going. You know, what's your first thought right now? If I gave you a topic, I said something, we all have a first thought. That's the paradigm.
Yeah.
And if you can say, I want to become wealthy, and I say, well, what does that look like? And I say, you give me a number, you have a first thought. Maybe I don't believe I'm worth $10 million. That first thought is a paradigm. It can be negative and it could be positive. And then that's, if you can recognize it on a day-to-day moment. Why am I feeling down right now? First thought. Maybe I had a disappointing sales call. How do you flip that? How do you get back into that positive state? And that's, I think, we're understanding the emotional side and how we think, our vibrations or frequencies, whatever we want to call it. We can then be in control of the next step.
Yeah, and I think, you brought up a good point that I think is really important is when you do have a reaction and that might not be favorable to you, figure out what the opposite can be to it rather than be stressed. If someone said, hey, make $10 million, and if you thought to yourself, well, oh my gosh, I can't, quickly change it to I'm going to, or how can I, right? And start to research it further. Not in 100 years did I think that you could get past $30,000 a year, because that was like the limit for everybody that I was around.
Sure.
Right. And when you can set your boundaries up to whatever level, we're all awake for 18 hours a day. We may as well figure out how to do it the smart way.
The effective way, right? Effective way.
Totally. Elon Musk and you are going to be awake for the exact same amount of time today. One's going to work just in a different belief system. That's all. Nobody's lucky. It's just a different mindset. The mind is everything. It's like, I honestly think it's even higher than 95%, but I always call it 90-10. But 95% of what you do has to be planned out somehow. It's mental, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd love to have you back on either in G-Force or back on here again. And, really, because success in business, I remember Bob Proctor said, I went with my business plan, sat down with him, and he says, the best plans in the world don't work. And he pointed out these 2 points. Through asking me some questions, they were difficult questions to address. He says, the best plans in the world don't work. That plan won't work. I can give you Musk's business plan. I can give you Gates' business plan, and it won't work for you. And I said, how is that? If I just follow a plan, he says, number one, you don't believe. Your relationship to your past history is limiting. You have to change that. And he ran me through some exercises, and it changed everything. Now I have a whole different, because you can't outperform a belief and you can't outperform your self-image.
Totally.
You get your belief system strong with passion and purpose, and you work on the inner side, get rid of the external image that everybody's looking at in our society, and build this up, you'll conquer the world. Whatever that world is for you.
Look at Tiger Woods. Look at Michael Phelps. Look at look at, like, most people can relate to sports. Doesn't anybody else think it's weird, like that, we're constantly with really high achieving people are beating their own records. They're pushing farther. It's because they can see a higher goal than that's ever been created. And quite often they're beating their own goals and they're still not happy with it. They want to push and push and push. And you look at these people who've just cranked out these amazing results. You can do that in your own life. You can do that in your own business. You can do that in your own family. There's no age limit. There's no financial limit. There's no limit, period. But when you have a goal that you're completely obsessed about, and if the rest of it will come, if you know that it's a monetary goal and you want $10 million, I saw pop up there, $10 million, you can get $10 million. If you want 100,000, you can get there. If you want to be 140 pounds versus 200, you can get there. The science is all there. All of it's been proven. You can watch YouTube to figure out the strategy. But it's your mind. Your mindset is everything. I can't tell you how fast to run to lose the weight, but I can tell you if your mind can conceive it, you will achieve it. And I got that from Napoleon Hill. So did you, gentlemen. And it's a dead truth. When you can completely envision that, that's when life just becomes amazing. And for me, I want 1,000 people, Tom, through my course by June 15th next year. I'm not worried about all the steps. I just know the goal, and I know what the plaque looks like, and I know I can already taste the dinner that I bought myself from achieving it to celebrate.
Yeah.
So that's how it is.
We are, Mark. I'm going to turn it back over to you. I sort of dominated tonight.
Mark, you didn't talk.
Well, I thought I was a very good conversationalist. Being in sales, I listen. So, I picked up a few things. I just wanted to share some of my philosophies, and you can tell me if I'm all wet listening to you master coaches out there. To me, success is peace of mind and knowing you've done your best. That's the way I look at it. One of the things you talked about was mindset. Everybody struggles with this. What's a good mindset versus a bad mindset? And I'm just making some comments here. What others think. For me, I could care less what you think. I mean, I know that sounds hardcore, but I just don't anymore. I've come this far in my life because half the things you're worrying about, whether it's like I mentioned to you about dancing, I just started doing this. People don't like to get out and do public speaking. People don't like to do what we're doing right now, live streaming. They're inhibited. They're worrying, gee, do I have anything of value to bring to the table? Or I'm going to look like an idiot because I'm learning a new dance, whatever. As my wife and I are going to venture onward here into our, I think it's the second or third week of learning how to cha-cha. But, you just can't worry about all this stuff. And you got to go out and do what's best for you. And you have to have, you mentioned the word, the D word. A lot of people hate it, but it's called discipline and implementing a plan. And I'm real big in that. You can talk about it, and I think that's great. But I think that's where some people, they just don't implement. They don't have that discipline to say, boom. And then my last thing about gratitude, like yesterday out there, 5 games, I had my health. I'm doing it. I'm listening to people yell, scream at their kids. I'm kind of laughing on the inside because some of them don't get it. It's just a baseball game, man. These kids are 12 or 13. It's their time. Let them enjoy it. Don't put all these demands on these kids. Lord knows they got enough with this crazy thing right here, the iPhone or whatever you got, Android, and it's just, something I always think about because there is a lot of teen suicide out there too as well. I'm sure you guys are aware of that. It's kind of scary when you really look into it, what happens with kids and their development and the environments they come from and the pressures. And my last thing is, I am very grateful my 2 boys turned out okay. I went through some financial hiccups, but hey, man, they're, as they say in baseball, knocking it out of the park. One's an accountant, another's playing football. He's probably going to go on and become a football coach himself. So if that's what they want to do, I'm all for it. That's it. I'm done.
I think it's
Well, good.
beautiful, and I think that it's notable that what you said about the sports game, because most parents are freaking out because it's their goal to have an all-star,
Right.
right? The kid just wants to have fun, and maybe they have a goal too, but maybe
Sure.
their goal for that game is just to learn how to run better. They're not even worried about the goal, right? But rather than us parents or even us leaders or us brothers and sisters or whatever, kids,
Mhm.
you have to stop pushing other people into your model of the world and just learn more about theirs. Listen to it. Figure out what they
Yeah.
want to do.
Yeah, I think you brought up a great point. I always call this like the innocent climb, and you grow and you develop and you do good things, and then all of a sudden what I call the disease of me kind of starts taking over. And I watch coaches, and the two teams that played the championship, I can truthfully say this, both the coaches said, I didn't even know you guys were out in the field. And I said, that's our job. You won't know that two umpires are out here, and we let the kids play. And I said, I told you at the beginning, it's about the kids, not you. And they kind of laughed, and they said, yeah, you did. And it really is. I'm all for the kids, and it's their turn, and let them enjoy it. And even when they strike out, I'll say, hey man, it was a great job, good swing. No, you'll get it next time. And I think parents, I've seen some dads get pretty intense, man, with their son, and I'm like going, okay, and even in the high school level, some of them get gaga over it. Man, it's a ball, it's a round sphere, and you got an oval object called a bat. And if you look at the science of hitting, which Ted Williams did write a book, it's not a natural act to hit a round sphere with an oval object, a bat. It's just to hit its center and be consistent, 1 out of 3 times. Try that. Look at the big leagues. Look what they go through. So, but you hit the nail on the head there. It's about, let the kids do what they want to do. And, during that process, I'm not just saying let them do whatever they want to do, but some folks, they've got major league scouts and everything else. I always kiddingly say there's no major league scouts out here today, guys. So, have fun, enjoy the process, because it goes by quick.
Well, make sure you're having fun. I mean, there are people that have children that are, very,
Right.
have behavioral problems or
Sure.
or act out or all those things. And I think, but when you really sit down and they get to know you and you get to know them and really talk it through, I mean,
Right.
maybe I'm just really lucky, but I don't know. I've worked with a lot of young kids too that have, unfortunately tried to take their own life and do things, and
Sure.
it's difficult. And so, but usually the number one problem, they don't feel heard, they don't feel significant,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
As
And
well.
or they see so much stress in your life that it's such a big problem. Because
Right.
when they see, if your kids saw you as being stressed out and everything's horrible, and they don't feel that they matter to you, because the most important thing to them is your financial problem or your job or all of those things. And I think that that's a
Right.
really big key to that. So really make sure you're actually listening, not just giving an opinion or mentoring or
Right.
coaching, but you're actually listening. And find out what it is that they really want. How do they feel that you're present, and how do they feel about you and your life? Because as
Right.
Tom said already, if their activity or behavior comes after the fact, let's make sure that how they see you and that you actually care,
Right.
right?
That's a great point, because I've met some people that have made a few pennies, but their kids may be in rehab or something, and Gina and I are just very grateful that our guys are, doing well and well adjusted, and but the door's always open, and I always listen. Even though my oldest is married now and he's got his own life to lead, when he calls, I take the call and just talk,
Yeah.
and listen. It's pretty much what I do. That's my job now. I just listen and make a few suggestions, and so, and that's the way I look at it now. I'm at a different phase now. We raised them, but I'm very thankful that they turned out to be fine young men, because that's a difficult thing to do today, is to raise men out there, and young women, but there are so many productive, young people out there. I can't wait to see, like your son, what's going to happen, 20, 30 years from now. It'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, Mark, I know you got a hard stop, but I'm just going to ask.
Sorry, I ranted. I ranted a little bit there, but I apologize.
Let's give a shout out.
That's perfect.
I see Luke's on there, so just a shout out.
Yeah,
he
Luke
is.
jumped on.
Yeah.
Oh, where is
Robert?
There he is.
For
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, there he is.
Yeah. But in closing, I just want to make one comment. I think this is part of life, living life to your fullest, is really on the day that you exit this physical world, you know that you don't have regrets. And I hear it too many times, that regret. I wish I would have, whether it be in relationship or done something in life. Just go out with a passion. Don't live your life as you can end it with no regrets at any time in life. And in any parting thought for you? He's complimenting you on the mug. Enjoy it.
Love and use my mug daily, Tom. Okay.
All right. My pleasure.
What does he drink in coffee? I mean, no, I'm kidding.
Yeah. He's a big tea drinker.
That's cool. That's cool.
Any parting thought?
You know what? The parting thought I'd leave with anybody today is, take some time, honestly, and make sure that you're living with an outcome that you're really truly happy about for you, only you. And go ask people in your family or around, what is something that they've always wanted to do, and start engaging these conversations to find out what people really wanted. Spend the next couple of weeks just really starting to feel and become aware, become conscious of it, and really start to then look at things that might be working to help you get there, or things that have been blocking you. Take a look at the critics.
Right.
But biggest thing is have gratitude for yourself. Have gratitude for the people around you and the opinions that they have, and and just really, if you're not on the path that you want to be on, get on it before you can't.
Yeah,
right.
Get started.
Take it serious. Yeah, get started.
Well, Troy, it's a pleasure, and we look forward. We always like to let our guests know we'd love to have you back because the value you brought today and our dialogue. This is all about. We never know if we're going to touch one person, right?
Yeah, anytime. If I can help in any way or shed light on someone and be able to just make them be able to see the possibility in their life, trust me, there's nothing not possible.
And you can reach out to Troy right there. His email's there, his Facebook. Please do. You'll be have a delightful experience. Just my conversation with you. So best to you, best to your family. And be safe, and it was an honor to have you on tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, you guys.
Right. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate it, Troy.
I'm putting in the green room with the blue M&Ms. Enjoy.
Oh my, he's going.
All right, Mark. I know you got to hit you're going to do the cha here in a second.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate Troy so much. I think success really starts with your frame of reference, your mind, and how do you develop it. And coaching and mentoring, whether it be with Troy or somebody, find that person that will hear you. He made it we want to be seen, we want to be heard, and a good coach cares. So you got to find that person that sees you, hears you, and that they know that you care. Then you're in good hands. So anything else in parting?
I just want to say thanks to everybody that was with us this evening. You didn't have to be here, and I am very grateful and filled with gratitude for you guys showing up, because you could be doing something else. Kellen Ann, thank you so much, and sometime we will connect, Kellen Ann. I need to get you on something just with me and you sometime, since you're a Georgian now, and you're in the Peach State, and thank you for hopping on board here. But really, love all you guys, and I wish nothing but success for everybody that's out here, checking us out. And Tom, you can kind of tell them and close it out, what EYP is and what we do and what we try and do.
Well, elevate your profits, everything, the mindset to the bank. It starts with the mind. And we had a great guest tonight. So I'll let you go cha-cha-cha, tear up the rug, burn up the rug, whatever they call that.
Oh, you got it, man. I will. I sure will. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and we'll just
close it out.
The volume here. So here we go.